Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 39 locations throughout southeast Louisiana and into the Florida Panhandle. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. The New Orleans Saints overcame an early deficit and a major turnover to beat a very good football team in the Seattle Seahawks, 25-20 in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. It's a big win for the Saints on many levels. It was one of those so-called must-win games. It was a win over a good football team, a team that clearly, to me, is a contender in the NFC. And then how they won the game, Lenny, to get a defensive stop at the end of the game was important.
Well, there was that, and the way they won it on offense as well. First of all, they did nothing in the first quarter, basically, and a big part of that, of course, the fumble that you mentioned by Mark Ingram. But then scoring on your last 6 possessions of the game against a defense while dealing with some injuries is still one of the premier defenses in the league. And then the way they did it, and just sticking with the run, running the football 35 times is not something you see a Sean Payton coach team do very often. Interestingly, the Saints this century have not lost a game when they've run the ball at least 35 times in a game. You see those numbers, and well, I know those guys pay attention to those kinds of things, okay? And it makes you wonder, why do you not do this more often? I mean, why is there the need to just throw the ball all over the park when establishing the run can be good? Now, look, when you're behind, obviously, I get that. You've got to play catch-up. But, you know, there are times.
But they were behind much of this game.
They were. They weren't so far behind.
No, of course not, but they were behind.
Right. They were playing from behind, but yet they stuck with a plan. And a lot of that, I think, had to do with the fact that the Seahawks defense had to be still, playing a Sunday night game the week before that went the full 5 periods of, with a full overtime, ended up in a tie, and they were on the field for 95 snaps. You had to feel like you maybe had the ability to wear that team down, and whatever it is they saw, they stuck with it with Ingram, watching from the side after that fumble. Tim Hightower stepped in and was outstanding. I mean, the Seattle defense doesn't give up 100-yard rushers very often. Actually, they have done it 3 times this year, but they didn't do it at all last year.
Yeah, they're still a very good defensive team with or without Bennett or Chancellor, although with them they're awfully good. And Drew Brees was incredibly efficient, no turnovers. His completion percentage was outstanding. Receivers performed well. Offensive line did its job, and the defense didn't have to be on the field that long. But as mentioned, they bent but didn't break. They did what they had to do to win the game.
Absolutely. And look, some big plays when they had to have them. No question about that. And, they forced Seattle on that last drive into using all of their timeouts, and they did a great job of, keeping everything in the field of play and making that clock run. And some of the little nuances that, honestly, sometimes we don't see out of a Saints defense, but they kept that clock running. And even though Seattle got down there deep, they made the stop when they had to right at the end.
And their linebacker level certainly was a large contributor in this game. Craig Robertson, solid. Nate Stupar, big-time interception on a beautiful read and a nice catch, by the way. And, of course, Donnell Ellerbe. They play faster with him on the field, and this is the first time they've had him. So I guess the big question would be now you got Ellerbe back. How soon before Bro and Rankins arrive? Because suddenly the cavalry here will come riding down the path, and maybe this defense gets a little better.
Well, I was actually thinking a different question. How long before Ellerbe's back on the injury list again if something else is going to happen? Because it seems like it always does. Was this 3 years? This is the 8th game I think he's played. So, yeah, you want to see him stay healthy. Yes, like Rankins is eligible to come back this week. So will he be back on the field Sunday against the 49ers? How far is Bro away? Obviously Bro's injury occurred much further along, at the opening of the regular season. He might be a little bit further away than Rankins, but let's see. I mean, it's it's exciting to know that this is almost like making a midseason trade, picking up a street free agent that can suddenly help you, that kind of thing, getting these guys back to help the cause here at midseason as you're about to reach the halfway point on Sunday in San Francisco.
Indeed, another game that turns out to be very important, a chance to get to 500 for the first time. LSU had the week off. Of course, it's LSU-Alabama week. Alabama touchdown favorite going in. We'll talk extensively about that game, obviously, later in the week. But this is a big week, to say the least, and it's a big week in more ways than one. Ed Ogeron will be under the microscope. No question about that where this game is concerned. Tulane played a very inspired game against an SMU team coming off of a big one over Houston, and the Green Wave had the lead into the fourth quarter, but could not hold it. SMU emerges victorious in a close one, 35-31. Tough loss for the Wave.
Yeah, and I guess the thing that frustrates you is this. One, you got a 2-score lead in the fourth quarter, and you can't hold it. But two, it was how SMU did it, converting on third and very long twice to keep drives alive. And, and those are the situations where you want to be able to, get off the field, and they couldn't get off the field. SMU drove down. Still Tulane had a chance, it got back down, converted a couple of times on fourth down, got down inside the SMU side of the 50-yard line, had a chance for a Hail Mary at the end, but it was intercepted.
Good game on WHNO. Nicholls State falling behind, coming back, beating Northwestern State in Natchitoches on Saturday.
Yeah, great performance by the Nicholls offense. 4K debates, 3 touchdown passes. Bates, the Southland Conference Player of the Week for his performance. And yeah, look, this is a Nicholls team, okay, that 2 years ago didn't win a game. They were in the midst of what would end up being a 23-game losing streak. They're going to be tested, but if they can run the table, and they've only got 3 games left, they've got a great chance to end up in the FCS playoffs.
And then finally, high school football. We had a great game Friday night on SportsNOLA.com. Came down to 1 yard. McDonough 35 prevailing 21-18 over Amite. What a stop by the Ron Eagles at the goal line, denying Amite 3 times to get in for the winning score.
Yeah, a couple of quarterback sneak attempts. They snuffed them out. It looked like one play, it looked like Bobby Wagner was on the McDonough 35 defense, went diving over the line to make the stop. But look, that was a terrific game, and it sets the table for a blockbuster matchup Thursday night live at SportsNOLA.com. McDonough 35 and Carr, battle of the unbeatens. Look, depending on how the seeds end up falling next Sunday, this could be a preview of something in the playoffs. Could it, just depending on how the brackets end up falling, could be a semifinal matchup. Who knows? It could be a matchup we see in the Superdome 5 weeks from now.
Big time stuff. Look forward to it. Should be great. Have a good week.
We'll see you later this week.
Don't forget Sports NOLA TV, 6 p.m. Monday night. Brian Alley Walsh, Ricky Jackson, and I on WHNO TV 20. That's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 39 locations throughout the New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. For Lenny, I'm Kenny. Have a great week, and God bless.